Hello, everyone. This is recording number 5 for a class on early Greek philosophy. We are still talking about Xenophanes, and today I want to talk about some material that is sort of at the intersection between epistemology and theology. I want to start from a famous passage where Xenophanes says that people from different places imagine the gods as if they looked like them. So, for example, the Greeks imagine the gods to look like Greeks, Ethiopians like Ethiopians, and so on. Now, the passage is famous, and some scholars have sort of speculated, should we think that Xenophanes is something like an early relativist? After all, he seems to be talking about, people from different places and so on, holding different views. What would it mean for him to be a relativist? One thing it would mean is that there would not be a truth of the matter of how divinity really is. Rather, it would be that for the Greeks, their gods are truly as they think of them, and so on. And that is just ultimately not compatible with the material that otherwise survives. It seems pretty clear that Xenophanes sort of works toward something like an account of how divinity genuinely truly is. And that means he cannot be a relativist. Now, what are the other options? A widely held view is that he charges us with anthropomorphism, that we imagine the gods in human like ways. And that is a kind of minimal reading, and as such, it seems fine to me. But it is not necessarily compatible with all the other material that survives. Or rather, it's not clear that it captures everything that he wants to say. It may be part of what he wants to say, but maybe not all that is going on here. So it does seem to capture the upshot of one other passage, and that is that human beings seem to ascribe all the things that among them attract criticism to the gods, that gods deceive and steal and so on. And that is clearly a kind of anthropomorphism, and Xenophanes objects against it. So looking at that, it may seem, yeah, sure, he charges us with anthropomorphism. But then there is also an intriguing and famous passage where he says that, well, if cattle and lions and horses had hands, and if they were to draw with these hands, they would draw the gods to look like them, like cattle and so on. And now you might think that cannot be entirely about anthropomorphism. After all, we cannot charge animals with anthropomorphism. So what should we say? Now, one option is to say that the passage about animals is just, metaphor. It is just a stylistic way of formulating the anthropomorphism charge in a kind of especially forceful way, making us see how ridiculous it is that we imagine the gods as if they were like us. And that is certainly an option. But we could also entertain the option that we take the animal passage literally. And that would mean that Xenophanes, as it were, genuinely takes an interest in how divinity or something else, the world, whatever, may seem to animals. Is that even conceivable? I would say it is. If you think about the history of Greek thought, there is quite a bit of evidence that people take an interest in how the world looks to animals. So you may start with a quite early text, Homer's Odyssey, which starts by saying that Odysseus, as he travels, is going to learn the minds and ways of those who live at the places that he will visit. But then as he engages in these travels, he meets not only human beings, he meets all sorts of creatures. And you may also think about a quite late text by the skeptic Nicodemus, the 10 modes of argument. And the first of these modes is about differences among the ways in which things look to different animals. And that text contains any number of examples, as they were collecting material from different eras in Greek thought, where it looks as if people have taken an interest in things looking differently to different animals. Now, if we take this seriously, then it is at least conceivable that Xenophanes is kind of part of a tradition in Greek philosophy, which takes seriously that things appear to be a certain way, not only to human beings, but also to animals. And that somehow that is of interest for us when we think about human cognition. So I want to leave it here and want to kind of suggest that the anthropomorphism reading is a kind of minimal interpretation, but that in addition, we may ask whether the animal passage should be taken seriously.